Hi, everyone. My name is Deanna Johnston. I am the Director of Family Life for the St. Philip Institute. And today I'm sitting down with Christina Valenzuela, the creator of Cycle Prep, an incredible program. And we wanted to spend a few minutes just talking about this amazing resource and why parents should consider jumping on board for their families. So, Christina, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Deanna, so much. My name is Christina. I am a mom of four fabulous kids, and I've been a natural family planning instructor for about 8 years now. And so, through my work with NFP, I never thought I would do this, but I got really, really passionate about these questions surrounding body literacy, is the term that I really like, learning to read the language of our body and kind of thinking about how we can make an investment prior to pre-Cana, prior to questions about family planning and fertility. Like, how can we teach girls these basic things about their bodies as they're growing up? And so that's really where Cycle Prep comes in. It's a program that I developed really for my daughters and for the girls in our community. And it's meant to be a scientifically accurate presentation of the full cycle, not just about periods, right? And what I wanted to do was create a program that's really comfortable for Catholic families, that affirms them in kind of body positive messages that they want to give their daughters, focusing on cycles as an indicator of health and something good and positive that your body is doing. And then creating a culture of care surrounding all of these issues for our young girls as they transition through puberty. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about exactly what's in the programs, but that's kind of the work that I do in the scope of this project that we're talking about today.
Oh, that's so exciting. And what I was really drawn to when we first got connected was the fact that you were making this available to parents and their kids and giving, like, empowering parents to have those conversations in
Mm-hmm.
a really trusted environment. And can you talk a little bit about, like, why is this so important for parents to even think about? Because I know some people are like, fertility awareness, like, they don't need to know about that till much later. But you and
Yep.
I both know, like, we need to be having these conversations way before pre-Cana, as you were saying.
Yeah. So I'll back up just a little bit so parents have an understanding of kind of what we're talking about
Yeah.
here. Cycle Prep, the education series, is now self-paced online courses that you take at home, right? So I've done them as live workshops, and that's still an option for groups if you had a group that wanted to do that. But really, I want to give parents the opportunity to kind of just start these conversations in the comfort of their own home, to be able to sit down with their daughters. And that's a big aspect of Cycle Prep. Like, I'm very clear in the conversation to say you are here with someone who cares about you, right? They are the primary person who's going to walk with you. I'm just here to give you some information. And so starting the conversation with your daughter in the context of somebody else, myself, who is basically empowering the parents to be that guide,
Mm.
right? That you're going through a learning experience together, and that's going to be the foundation for many, many conversations that you're going to continue to have together as a parent and a daughter as she grows. So, why I think this is so important, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Investment is the word that comes to mind for me, that we're investing not only in a relationship with our daughter, like by tackling some kind of intimate conversations and telling her that, like, it's okay to talk to me about these things and I'm going to be a supportive person for you. You are giving her an open door to come talk to you about other things, right?
Yes.
Other related things maybe that come up later. So you're making an investment in your relationship and your ability to have a conversation that's ongoing. I think also it's an investment in changing society and changing a little bit of what we offer in the church as well. Maybe that sounds like a big grandiose dream, but I think we've done ourselves a disservice in society by not really equipping young girls to understand what's going on with their bodies, right? We may give them some practical tips about how to manage periods, but, like, wouldn't it be better if they understood why they had a period in the first place? Or wouldn't it be better if we gave them a big range of things that, like, did you realize that, like, a young girl's period isn't actually supposed to look like a grown woman's period, right? And not holding her body to a different standard, and not trying to impose kind of grown up expectations about what periods look like on a young girl. I think we can do a lot to shift society's attitude about periods if we start young and we tell girls that like this is a healthy thing that your body's doing.
Definitely.
This is good for your body to be doing for so many reasons, right? And just giving them space to explore what all of this means as they're growing up. So, you know, as a church specifically, I think that this is important because I think as much as we're making an investment in natural family planning, we can do more in that space too. But I think that people will be more receptive even to natural family planning if they begin to understand the design of their bodies and to respect the design of their bodies as they're growing. And it's not just something that you're like, oh, by the way, now that you might be thinking about getting married, you should probably learn about this thing that your body's doing.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I think I laid out a bunch of stuff there that we could spend 2 hours unpacking.
Right.
So I'm sorry for that. That wasn't a simple answer, but investment in all these different things, in relationships, in society, in, you know, making an investment for the church, and for future marriages.
Exactly. Because we talk about marriage formation beginning way before a couple is even engaged or shows up and presents themselves to the parish, and how different would our culture be if we all had a solid understanding of the gift of how God has designed us. And I'm always amazed, and just as a natural family planning teacher myself, and in talking with engaged couples, how many women don't understand how their body works, or that their fertility is not a disease, that the way God's designed them is beautiful in it. And there's a reason behind why things happen when things happen and things like that. And I know in cycle prep, there's not an emphasis on fertility per se.
No.
But can you talk a little bit about like what would parents expect to encounter or discuss throughout the program?
Yeah, so cycle prep currently consists of 4 different learning sessions, like little modules that you can do all as one big session, and it would take maybe about an hour and a half of time, or you could break them into chunks. And so the first thing that we learn in cycle prep is just basic anatomy. Like, let's talk about what's inside our bodies, right? And let's get some words out and let's get some vocabulary out. So I'm always very careful to use precise terminology for anatomy and then for hormones and things. But I want to do so in a way that's not threatening to young girls, that's age appropriate and accessible. And so we talk about anatomy, and then the second session is talking about like what actually happens in the context of a cycle, like your whole cycle, right? Why do we have cycles? I briefly touch on this idea that like the egg is the star of the cycle, right? It's a very special type of cell, because if it meets up with another special type of cell called a sperm from a dad, like it'll make a baby. But then I very quickly go to, but that's the vast majority of your life, that's not what's going to happen. The vast majority of your life, you're going to go through this cycle. So let's tell the story of the cycle. And so I have this analogy that I use, my analogy of the kingdom, where I have different hormones playing different roles in the kingdom, getting ready and preparing a room for a very special guest that they've invited to come. And so we talk about all of the things that go on in the cycle in the context of this analogy of the kingdom. And then we go on to say, well, at the end of this process, right, if there's no guest staying, then your body will experience this bleed, this period bleed. And so then we talk about in the third session, like what exactly is a period like? We go into the basics of like feminine hygiene products, what your options are. And, I am happy to say that a lot of moms discover some new options that are out there for their daughters. So I hope they would tune in and learn from that. And then we talk about this idea of what are normal ranges of healthy things to see. And this just comes from my experience growing up. Maybe we could, I don't know if it's okay for me to go into that, but like when I was in 4th grade, we got just like the period talk. And it was a woman who I guess had really good intentions and was brave for going and standing in front of a whole bunch of 4th graders. But basically what she told us about was her experience with a period. And she wasn't able to give us like a range of what was normal. And so when I finally did start my cycles in 8th grade, I felt like I had been lied to.
Mm.
because, that wasn't my experience. And I had thought that like a period was this one thing because
Mhm.
that's all I had heard. And so then I developed this like very negative association with my cycles because I just really I felt like I'd been betrayed or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I want to be very careful to do is to show the girls like, no, there's a range of what's healthy and normal, and your body knows what's healthy and normal for you. So
Mm.
here's the range. And then if you fall outside of it, then you talk to a doctor, you talk to your parent, you
Yeah.
get some help from somebody else.
Mhm.
But just to give them even the latitude to say like, if you fall within this range, like you don't necessarily have to tell somebody. It's normal, right? So that's the third part. And then the fourth part is this idea of building a culture of care. It's kind of the commission that I give to girls and families that like we can do a lot to create a space where cycles and periods are respected. Not even just in our own home, like by how we take care of ourselves and how we take care of
Nice.
one another within the home, but
Mhm.
also extending this to our communities, like to our school communities, to our parish communities. I teach the girls how to pack a period kit, show them what supplies they might want to take in a period kit. And then, oh, by the way, pack some extra stuff for your friends and let them know that you have spares, right?
Yeah.
Like even a simple gesture of knowing that you have this kind of a safety net from your friends
Yeah.
and friends who will support you can go a long way to decreasing anxiety in a girl's life. If she
Right.
knows she's surrounded by a community of support, then we can do a lot to help her navigate what is a very tricky time in
Yeah.
her life. You don't want to sugarcoat that. It's tricky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot
We
going
need
on
all the
there.
help we can get. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Oh, wow. That's wonderful. And I love how it I kind of want to use the word normalizes the
Hmm.
a period, like just makes
Yeah.
it something like, oh yeah, like we get periods or we're going to talk about it. But I also love that it's really empowering to and we talk about female empowerment all the time in our culture, but I mean, what's more empowering than understanding like the power of how your body works and that it's
Hmm.
good.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so what would be the target age range for this? Because I know that that's usually a big question. I have two
Yeah.
daughters and I'm anticipating having some of these conversations with them. But what would be the target age group for cycle prep?
So for the menarche workshop, so menarche just means the onset of your first period. And so the idea is that we would go through this workshop together before a girl has her first period. So it's really ideally written for girls like age 9 to 11,
Mhm.
right? The average age of menses onset is still like 12 to 13. And so we want the 9 to 11 group is really who it's written for. I've had slightly older girls. So I say 9 to 13 in a lot of my literature. I've
Mhm.
had slightly older girls who still attend. And maybe if they didn't get some of the basics of like the mechanics of what's going on in the cycle, they also get a lot of really good information out of it. But it is geared a little bit younger. So like fourth and fifth grade
Nice.
would kind of be the target demographic. And I think that's also a good age because middle schoolers or like late elementary, right? They're just a little bit more receptive
Mhm.
to things. They don't have the baggage that maybe slightly older kids
Right.
have
Right.
because by the time we get into 12 and 13, you're already experiencing some body issues. You're already experiencing some kind of like hesitation to share what's going on in your private interior tween life. And so I also think that it's a good age because it kind of starts the conversation at a time when your daughter is receptive to it and she'll remember it, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. So I know that there are parents that are somewhat squeamish or
Yeah.
hesitant, or they didn't have a good experience of this type of education. I know of women who, when their period started, it was like, here's a box of tampons and pads and good luck. And they
Mhm.
never had that conversation. So for parents who might just be feeling like, I'm not ready to have this conversation, but knowing like it needs to happen, or
Mhm.
just kind of feeling overwhelmed by everything, what encouragement could you offer to those parents?
Well, first of all, I'll just tell those parents you're not alone. And this is a really tricky conversation. I mean, I've been talking about this with grown women for 8 years. And even when I thought about talking to my daughters, I was like, oh, what am I going to say? How am I going to make this age appropriate and not like immediately find myself swimming in other conversations that I'm not ready to have, right? So like it's there and it's legitimate, and it's mostly because we haven't had that modeled for us,
Right.
right? That a lot of us didn't receive that at this age, and so we don't really know, we don't have an experience of like, oh, this is how it went for me.
Mm.
So what cycle prep is designed to do is really to just introduce these ideas for the parents, right? That's why the parents and the daughters learn alongside one another, because I also realize that some parents may not know some of this information. And so it's an experience to learn with your daughter, to be equipped together. And if you learn something new, share that with her. Like, have a conversation about like, I even didn't know this. Or if you're totally well versed and you absolutely know it forwards and backwards, maybe you want cycle prep because it's a way for your daughter to hear some of these things from a voice that supports you as a parent and offers the values that you want to give to your daughter. It's like another person out there also telling her this is a healthy and good thing, right? She's not just hearing it from you, she's now hearing it from somebody else. And so you can kind of rope me in to support you in the values that you want to show to your daughter, and just emphasize that you are there for her, right? So regardless of where you find yourself on that spectrum, you know, needing the language, right? That's what I'm here for. If you already have the language, like I'm just there to basically back you up, right? And to give your daughter this experience where she can kind of explore these topics with you at home.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I really love the language of supporting parents in their role. It's not as though we're just setting our daughters in front of a screen and say, okay, just watch this workshop and then come talk to me. But you really are having a conversation together and creating that space. So I'm so grateful that this exists, that it's a tool that parents can use. So as far as next steps, if a parent is ready to get started or wants to learn more, what do they need to do?
Well, so you can visit cycleprep.com. It's a very easy way to just look and see what I have, and you can go straight to the programs and check them out and purchase them for yourself. But through the St. Philip Institute, because you guys are a Care Champion organization, I offer discounts. So if you wanted to get a discount on the program, you could contact Deanna. You could look into her office. I know she'll have some materials out there with the coupon codes. So I would invite you to either go straight to the website to learn more, or to contact Deanna, who can get you hooked up with a discount as well.
Yes, discounts are always good.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Christina. Thank you for the work that you're doing. We're very excited. In the description in this video, we'll put the links to your website, and also to where people can learn more about the discounts available through the Family Life office. Is there another website that people can learn more about? Because I know you have Pearl and Thistle too, and I want to promote that too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So Pearl and Thistle is kind of my overall business identity, Pearl and Thistle. And Cycle Prep is kind of a subset of that. So if you wanted to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you can find me at Pearl and Thistle there. And then I post regularly about Cycle Prep, and you can join my mailing lists to find out more. So, and I always invite conversations. I love to hear from parents. I love to hear from, you know, if you're somebody who works in a school or a parish, or if you have like a scouting troop and you're thinking about like, how could I bring this to my community in a more intentional way? I would love to talk with you about that as well. So yeah, all those different ways you can reach out.
Perfect. And like I said, we'll try to put all the links to those things in our video description. But thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We will continue to promote Cycle Prep and those types of resources through the Family Life office in the St. Philip Institute. So if you'd like to learn more, or just kind of explore all of the different options and ministries that are available through the St. Philip Institute, or specifically through the Family Life office, you can visit stphilipinstitute.org and click on Family Life. And again, Christina, thank you for your time. And we look forward to sharing this resource with the Diocese of Tyler.
Thank you so much, Deanna. Thank you.